So what Salesforce has done over the last 3 years is looked at these trends and identified a framework to make it easy for you to capitalize on this. Make it easy for you to transform your business into a social business so that you're selling in a social manner like we demonstrated yesterday with the Rossignol video, so that you're servicing in a social manner, which is what we demonstrated yesterday with Activision, so that you're marketing in a whole new way, so that you're collaborating internally, externally with your customers and with your partners, so that you're recognizing people's work performance differently with Work.com, and finally, so that you can have a platform so that you can innovate and extend your business as you want, taking advantage of the entire platform of the cloud, being mobile and being social. And we think this is a much easier way for you to do it. We think this is particularly attractive to small and medium businesses because it's so hard to do if you have to bring these solutions together on your own. And we recognize that small and medium businesses are the backbone of every economy around the globe. Everywhere we go in the world, small, medium businesses are an incredibly important segment to us. We can actually see economies recover because we see growth coming from these segments first, and then we see the other segments catch up. 50% of all private sector employees are members of small or medium businesses. 64% of all job creation in the last 15 years came from small and medium businesses. And we think it's just a critical component to any prosperous economy that small and medium businesses are served well. But we also recognize that as a small and medium business, you have very unique challenges. Limited IT resources, or maybe no IT resources. How many companies in the room have nobody with the title IT, with the word IT in their title, right? You know, it might be, you probably are IT if you're in this room, and you're looking for advice that we hopefully will deliver to you today. So very limited IT resources, both in terms of people and in terms of money and in terms of know-how, right? And really, should you have to assemble these solutions? No, you really shouldn't. Disconnected systems, lots of paper and pencil, lots of Excel, like we saw Player Layer had their customer lists built in these very big Excel spreadsheets that were acting as sort of pseudo databases, but they really weren't getting value out of the information in Excel. And then probably the most profound thing is limited to no business insight, just no way to measure, no time to measure, no methodologies for measuring, so limited to no business insight, which leads to business struggles. We survey our customers every year, and we pay a lot of attention to the feedback that they give us and how that data changes. And when we surveyed our small and medium business customers this year, they shared this data with us. 25% of them are seeing an increased win rate with our products. They're seeing on average a 34% increase in productivity of their people. And probably most importantly, they're experiencing 57% access to better information. And that last number is so large because in many cases, our customers had no way of getting business insight before they implemented Salesforce. And overall, they saw a 30% increase in revenue improvement. These are impressive statistics when you think about the global economy in which most of our customers are operating today. So we have designed a framework that is built for small and medium businesses. We think it's easy to grow your business when it's built in the cloud, and we'll talk about that, and we'll have customers share with you the lack of complexity when you're running in the cloud. We think it's very easy to connect with your customers using Salesforce in whatever channel they come in through, whatever social media forum they're in, whether you're selling to them or servicing to them. We think it makes it easy for you to do that. And then finally, we think it's very easy for you to collaborate with them and collaborate with them while you're on the road using our mobile technologies. So these are sort of the three principles in the framework that we deliver to small and medium businesses. We inherently believe that the cloud is democratic. It allows you to rapidly deploy solutions anywhere in the world, and we hear this over and over again from customers. When they want to invest in a new country or a new market, they say it's so simple to stand up the software because all we have to do is put an employee with an iPad and a browser into that country, and off we go. We have this elastic infrastructure. There's no hardware, there's no software to implement. There are no upgrades to think about. All the complexity that you would think about in an enterprise business or a traditional on-premise business, none of that applies. And you have unlimited scalability. If you release a new product and you have an unbelievable response from your customers to your product, you can get the scale from Salesforce. And then finally, we offer you the flexibility to extend. As your business grows, you can extend your platform using Salesforce.com. So we think these are the characteristics of our solution that make it a democratic offering accessible to customers of all sizes. We have had tens of thousands of small and medium businesses succeed with our software. And all shapes and sizes across all different industries. So if you look at the top here, you can see there's Gilt Group and One Kings Lane and Bonobos, and we're going to hear from Trunk Club later today. They're all in the retail market, and they're disrupting what retail looks like today. You can see Healthrageous and HealthSense and eBiosense. They're in the healthcare, life sciences industry, and they're changing what that industry looks like. We have product makers like Fitbit. Is everyone familiar with Fitbit? You wear it on your clothing, and it gives you feedback on how well you're performing from an exercise and fitness perspective. There's companies like Nest. They make a intelligent thermostat that you put in your house, and it learns your habits and automatically adjusts the thermostat so that you're saving energy, but you're also comfortable when you're in the home. So there are all sorts of different companies that have used Salesforce to succeed, and they're disrupting the industries and the giants of those industries in which they operate. And all of them are using Salesforce as their infrastructure. I want to share a story about one of those companies, and that is Yelp. Everyone heard from Jeremy Stoppelman yesterday, the CEO of Yelp. Today, we are very excited to have our COO of Yelp here, who I'm going to bring on stage in a minute. But Yelp has an amazing story. The company started in 2004. They are currently connecting 80 million people a month, consumers a month, with local businesses based on reviews, based on the need to get information about that business. They're considered the second generation of Yellow Pages for many of us out in the consumer markets. And they've established a conversation between consumers and businesses that just didn't exist prior to Yelp being created, to the concept of Yelp. They now have, I think you started with 4 employees, is that right, Geoff, back in 2004? 2 employees back in 2004. Here it is, 2012. They now have over 1,000 employees, and they are managing 30 million local reviews across the world, which is just an incredible number. So, Geoff, I want you to come up on stage with me here, and let's talk a little bit of about the journey that Yelp has been on, using Salesforce. Thank you. Thank you for being here. When we thought about bringing you here, we thought you're the busiest man in the world, so we weren't sure we'd actually get you to agree to.
Very kind. You guys put on a great show, so thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that way. So, Geoff, tell us a little bit about the genesis of the Yelp relationship with Salesforce and how you're using it to manage these conversations between consumers and businesses, of which, as we saw, there are a lot.
Sure. So you asked how many folks we started with. The company started with 2 people, but I joined about a year later. I was 10th in, and actually right around the time I started was a time we were thinking hey, maybe we should figure out how to make some money with this business. And so one of my colleagues began calling and offering advertising products to local businesses, and doing it just as you showed on the screen with an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Started logging, well, I talked to this person at this time, and this was his or her phone number. And that started to actually go pretty well. He started to have a little bit of success with it, and he thought, gee, he was actually also our product manager, and like many startups, he had 4 or 5 different jobs he was doing. So he said, maybe we should hire a full-time salesperson to join me in this effort and see if we can, again, figure out how to grow this business. And so as soon as he just made that decision, or we made that decision, let's try to hire a second salesperson, we knew. And at that point, although this is only 2005, it was already sort of conventional wisdom in the Valley that Salesforce was the way to go. You guys were already the leader in the space. We looked at a couple other offerings.
In the startup space. Right?
That's right, in our space. And that was just to say basic CRM technology to allow us to be able to share records just within our tiny little office. And then we knew that would solve the ability to access it from home. He was sometimes actually going, making calls from home because he was sitting surrounded by engineers and didn't want to disturb them. And
with his sales pitch.
That's right, with his sales pitch, which would be disruptive. Anyway, if you fast forward that, then some of the axes of growth for Yelp have been, that second year, we started that first year just in San Francisco, only building the community here in San Francisco, and then later selling advertising here. About a year later, after we had some success in San Francisco, we said, well, let's see if we can do it again. And so we began branching into Chicago and later Los Angeles and New York as well. And of course, by virtue of having chosen Salesforce as our product, it made it pretty easy for us to just begin to add both marketing and sales staff over time, little by little, and have them be able to access the same records and again, talk to the same customers without stepping on one of those.
Sounds like you took a very premeditated approach to growth. I noticed there was a time frame, sort of a duration of time. You were only in San Francisco, then Chicago, New York. Now you're international. Can you talk about sort of your strategy on how you stepped all those growth pieces in? Yeah,
and then we've always tried to call it the classic sort of Goldilocks approach, which is to say, not too fast, not too slow. We want to go as fast as we can, reasonably challenging ourselves, but without breaking everything. And we knew from the beginning that you had to get it just right. And what we meant by that is we had to have a product that people in San Francisco really wanted to use. And if we had that, then folks would contribute reviews, and consumers would find those reviews useful, and local business owners would want to engage, and ultimately some local business owners would want to buy advertising products from us as well. And once we saw that started to work in San Francisco, as I said, we said, all right, let's try a few more cities in the U.S. That second year, we did 5 new cities. The third year, we then said, okay, that seems to be working, so we did another 7 or 8 in the U.S. Yeah. The fourth year, then we said, well, maybe we could try Canada. After that, we then went into the U.K. and Ireland, and sort of since then, it's been relatively rapid rollout. We're now in 18 countries and something like 90 cities around the world. Managing a large number of reviews. So as you start engaging with customers, obviously you have to support them differently. You talked about the marketing process, the sales process. How did the support process evolve? Sure. So somewhere in that first year, because we had so few sales folks, they were all managing their own books of business and doing client support on their own. As we began to have hundreds and then thousands of customers, we realized, gee, maybe this isn't the most efficient way to do it. And so, actually one of our strong salespeople, but really who had an affinity for client service, said, hey, she put up her hand and offered to become our first client service professional. So she went full-time into supporting existing clients. She, of course, could then, basically plug into a different version of Salesforce, same deployment, same accessing records, but that made it pretty easy to create this function. And today we have something like 50 or 60 folks just in our client services team. Oh, helping support. And I don't think I mentioned that, we're now, today, it's something like 800 Salesforce licenses, so I guess we get to thank each other, but it's worked really well for us. So. That's great. And I think there's a little lesson in there that initially salespeople are doing sales and service, and then you have so many customers that it's almost impossible to keep that focus on both, so that segmentation of work became critical to one of the growth initiatives. Indeed. I did want you to share, because you have a lot of constituents in the audience, I'm sure a lot of people out there use Yelp. What advice do you have for them to maximize what Yelp can bring to the table? Sure. So, hopefully everybody in the audience has used Yelp as a consumer. You're here in San Francisco, so especially those visiting perhaps from abroad, check it out. Find somewhere new to eat that not everybody else at the convention is already going to. But for those of you who may have a local business, either manage a local business, whether it's a chain or an individual location, I would just say, if you're not already, make sure you get on Yelp and claim that business page. Every business owner, whether you are one or know one, actually has the ability to set up a free page on Yelp that gives you a dashboard to watch your reviews, respond to reviews, add photos, make sure all your information is correct, hours of operation, those kinds of things. Because we do have these many, many millions of consumers every day, finding businesses on Yelp, and you want to make sure your information is up to date.
It's how I make a lot of decisions. So thank
Terrific.
you very much,
Thanks so
Geoff.
much.
That was really
Yeah, appreciate
great.
it.
Appreciate it.